Hi Mr. Penguin, and welcome back to another Minecraft video in which I'm going to be showing you how to make a 3x3 piston door. As you can see here, it's a very tiny 3x3 piston door, and it doesn't look like there's a lot going on. And just to show you that it works, if we flick this lever right here, it will close, and then flick this lever right here again, it will open. So anyway, to start off design, you're going to want to place 3 droppers in like this. It doesn't matter what direction they're facing. I'm just having them face this way. And then you want to take a solid block and place it in front of them. It can be any block as long as it's a full solid block. So it can't be things like glass or leaves or things like that that aren't fully solid blocks. Then you want to place redstone on top like that. And then you want to take an observer, and you're going to have to crouch to do this, but you want to place an observer on top of each one of these droppers facing up like this. And then on top of each one of these observers, you want to place a sticky piston like that. Then you want to take some honey blocks, and you want to go 3 up like that. Take slime blocks 3 up like that, and then honey blocks 3 up. So you should have this kind of like back and forth right there. Then when you want to grab your observers again and come down here and have some observers facing like this, downwards like that, and then you want to take pistons below them so that facing down so that the observers are running into these pistons. Then you want to take slime blocks, and see this is a honey block, and so you want to place a slime block there. Because if you don't want these to be honey blocks, you want them to be slime blocks. Because if they were honey blocks, it would mess up the entire design. Then you want to take honey blocks and go 1, 2, 3 like that. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then slime blocks and go 1, 2, 3. Then you want to take whatever block you want to make your door out of. I'm going to use white concrete, but you can use whatever block you want. And you want to fill in this entire area right here with that, so that you should have like kind of a wall here. Then you want to go to the top of this little kind of wall thing we just made and go 3 like that. You might already have a platform here, because this is going to be like if you're standing here and you want the door to close upwards, this is where you're going to be standing for the door to close. Then I'm just going to go ahead and create a frame for the door. You might already have a door, like a frame set up, but the frame just needs to be a 3x3 hole. Okay, so now I've got the frame constructed. Hopefully you already have it. You want to go back here, and on the back of the frame, you want to place in 6 droppers, 3x2. So 1, 2, 3, and then crouch, and then go 1, 2, 3, so you can place the dropper on top of these droppers. And then up at the top here, you want to place in you're going to have to crouch to do this, but you want to place redstone on top of these droppers that are in a line here. Not these droppers, just these ones. And then you want to place redstone there and redstone there. And you can go ahead and place in a lever on this block. You can place a lever down here or up there. It just has to be on this block. Then what you want to do is you want to take a observer running that way and an observer running that way. So you've got the observer facing that way and then this observer facing that way. Whoops. So then this next thing I'm about to show you was the idea was created by Mumbo Jumbo. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a redstone signal through the wall. So the way you want to do that is you want to place a piston on this side of the observer facing downwards like that, and then you want to go down here and place a piston facing upwards like that. Then you want to go up 2, so 1, 2. And then go here on this wall and go down 1, 2. And then you want to place a observer facing downwards right there. So as you can see, it's facing downwards. And that is the entire design right there. See if I flick this lever, if I made everything correctly, yep, it closes up. And I flick it again, and it closes down. So the only downside is that you've got these here, but the sacrifices you make gives you a very small design and a very cool opening and closing. Oh, and then also if you're gonna have walls here on this side for so what you're gonna have to do, sadly, there's gonna have to be some sacrifices made, is this wall is gonna have to be made out of immovable blocks. So if so those are movable blocks, so any blocks you can store items in. That includes chests, but just don't look very nice. I'm using droppers, obsidian, bedrock. If you're on survival, you really can't get that. But you have to use something like that all around here. And then if you're gonna want to make a floor here, it's gonna have to be made out of droppers and a movable block. And if you want to have a wall there, that's gonna have to be droppers or movable blocks. But then these here can be normal blocks. But these specific spots all have to be movable blocks. But these droppers do have to be here. They can't just be any movable block. It has to be a dropper. But for these down here and those right there, it can be any movable block, which is obsidian, droppers, furnaces, blast furnaces, smokers, dispensers, chests even. Although chests wouldn't look very nice. And if you can magically get your hands on it in survival, bedrock. And if you're making it creative, you could use bedrock. But anyway, so how this design works, well, it uses a flying machine to close this. And to explain what a flying machine is, let's come over here and I can explain what it is. It's a bit difficult to understand. But so what an observer does, first of all, is it detects whenever a block update is made. And if you ever power a dropper, it detects that block update. Just to show you, if you do this. Sorry. That observer was facing the wrong way. So if the observer face, see this face right here? Right there, that face detects whenever there's a block update made. So you see, a lot of people think it's just when a block is placed in front of it, which it does make a change, but it's whenever a block changes in any way. So if you place that observer facing that way and a piston there, and you flick that, whenever a dispenser gets powered, or unpowered, it causes a block update, and that's what this observer here is detecting. So what's happening here is when this redstone here gets powered, what it does is if this redstone gets powered, it will power this dropper here, because that's a dropper, and the observer will detect that. And so what an observer does is if it is powered, it gives a 1-tick pulse, which means that the piston will spit out its block like that. So what's happening is the piston will spit out these three honey blocks, and since these 3 honey blocks are attached to this observer and this sticky piston, it'll pull those with it. But whenever an observer moves, it causes an update. So this observer gets updated and will power this to grab these slime blocks and then pull all of this back up. And since this observer here moved, it'll power this piston, and then it repeats the process. Don't worry if you can't understand it. It's some pretty high level redstone stuff. So if whatever I just said doesn't make sense, don't worry about it too much. It's a pretty difficult thing to explain. And then also, what I just did here is, since honey blocks and slime blocks, if moved, they pull any block that's next to it, except for immovable blocks. So what's happening here is these blocks are just stuck to it and it moves it with it. So then, that's pretty much all there is to it. What's happening here on the top, I just showed you what was happening here on the bottom. But what's happening on the top is when this redstone gets powered, it powers this block, which is also, it has to be a movable block, then powers this dropper, which will then cause this dropper to have an update. And since if this is up here and this is causing an update, this observer is going to detect it, and it's going to repeat the exact same thing I explained to you on how this comes up, but going downwards. And you can see that all happening right there. So then the last major attribute is this running the redstone through the wall here. And that this was created by Mama Jumbo, as I said. But what's going on here is you see this observer will detect when this dropper is getting powered. And a cool thing about observers is an observer, whenever it detects something, it flashes red right there on the front. It's kind of hard to see, but you can catch a glimpse of it. And so that counts as a block update. So an observer can detect when another observer it gets powered. So this observer detects when this observer gets powered by this changing. which will then power this piston, which will push all of these blocks down to here. And since this observer updates from moving downwards, it'll power this block, which will power this redstone, which will then, if this redstone gets powered, it's going to make this piston extend again, pushing this back up. And since this redstone is powered, when this is down here, if this redstone gets powered, it'll power these droppers, which will power the observers to send it all back up to the top. So don't worry if what I just said doesn't make sense. If you're kind of new to redstone and haven't done a lot with it, it probably won't. And if you've caught on to it, good job. But if you keep studying redstone through the years, then eventually you might be able to come back to this video and understand exactly what's going on here. Anyway, I do hope that you enjoy this Minecraft video, and I will catch you in the next one.